Welcome, everyone, to Hit the Books. I'm Tom Casale here with the man, Joey Knish. Knish, we got a lot to unpack this week. There's a lot of stuff going on. We're in the middle of football season, college football. I'm all pumped up. You already gave me some bad news for me off camera before we came on. I feel like I'm starting off on the wrong foot already here. 2-3 last week, Knish. I'm 13-12 with my picks here. I write for the New York Post. There, I'm 12-12. I'm like the freaking human coin flip over here. I got to get something going. But first, I want to jump into. I heard you were on a live stream last night, sweating out a futures bet on the South Alabama Jaguars. First, let me say, Knish, I thought that was an excellent bet. I watched that team against UCLA, and they looked like they had a lot of talent, especially up front. What's going on here? They got some poor coaching over there?
Well, I tell you what's going on here is they can cancel my statue in Mobile because I had the construction workers lined up, the supply chain ready to go. I was going to have a nice in the middle of town square there with holding my tickets up, and it's all over, Tommy. It's all over. So the loss to Troy, I guess they need some breaks, right? But that was the night. That was last night to seal it. And just too many mistakes, penalties, turnovers, close one. But the Troy defense is real deal. And they basically they couldn't drive the ball on them late. So it was a tough one. I saw Zach send some South Alabama propaganda earlier. I'm going to talk to Pizzola about making sure he doesn't get paid, for this week. So we'll have to see. But it was a tough one in the Knish household last night. Also, Georgia Tech we bet on because just Sims plays. He gets hurt in the first quarter, and the backup quarterback looked like Joey Knish after he had about 3 strong drinks.
Yeah, well,
tough one all around last night, Tommy.
That was a hell of an effort by him on the final play there to run out of bounds.
Yeah, great. Really.
Not at least
yeah. I don't know if they're giving him any NIL money, but take it back because you should belong in front. I don't know. First of all, I don't know why you're getting a backup MAC transfer quarterback. You'll wonder why Jeff Collins got fired because he's bringing in that guy to be the backup quarterback. But just a brutal one. There's a tough one all around last night, Tom.
Yeah, Knish, one of the things I like to do as a bettor, even though I've been doing it for a long time, is I like to keep learning, right? And on this show last week, one of my favorite bets of the season was Utah, laying the 3. But you said to me, I can understand why you took that bet, but when you look at the line, now the value might be going to USC. And I was thinking about that as we went into the game, and the Utah ended up winning the game, but they didn't cover. But I thought about it when the game was over, and I said, you know what? That was one of those games I think I fell in love with the pick, and I was going to take the line no matter what. Yeah. And so you were right on that one. I appreciate the knowledge. It made me, I think a little bit more about just jumping on a team if the line doesn't say this is the right time to do it.
Yeah, I know the old numbers, not teams cliche everybody uses, but yeah, that was one. I didn't even mind the Utah, but then it gets up to 3.5, and it's one of those that and again the way the game played out, you could make the case that they should have covered in the end there, but Yeah, just one of those that once even you got to let her go. Like even once the value's out of it, you just got to let it go.
Well, I'm hoping I got some value this week. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on some of these games because some of the lines moved against me, and I want to hear why and what you think about it. The Hit the Books is presented by the Hammer Betting Network, Knish. You can check out all the great content at thehammer.bet and on social media platforms at the Hammer HQ. And if you like our show, please go review it, subscribe, hit all those buttons that they have.
5-star. Don't nothing but 5-star, baby.
Yeah,
That's all we want here.
Yep. Listen, I'm going to go on a run here. So when you give it a 5-star,
time to heat up, Tommy. It's time to heat up.
Time to heat up. So just assume this is 3 weeks from now. Then give us because I'll be like I'll be like 6 games over 500 by then. So let's go into the picks, Knish. Man, do I have a stinker for the first one. I don't know how many people want to line up and bet a team that just lost to Colorado because it's hard to lose to Colorado. But I took Cal plus the 7.5. Now, here's why. Cal is a terrible favorite under Justin Wilcox, 8-15 against the spread. As an underdog, completely different. 22-9-1. That's 71% against the spread. But when he's getting a touchdown or more, it goes to 16-3. 84% at home, 6-0, 100%. And you look at Washington on the road this year, 2 games as a favorite, lost them both outright, gave up 85 points. So I took Cal plus the 7.5. Am I crazy?
I think you made some good where we talked Iowa State, Texas a few weeks ago with the Matt Campbell game where Matt Campbell obviously, we try not to do too many of the trend stuff, but that's one where over a large sample where the coach just kind of has a good sample of being legitimately, like where they can play a certain type of game schematically, the way they set up game plans, the way they can get their team up. So once you've seen it over that long of a sample and Justin Wilcox fits that mold, that it's kind of outperforming what the number should be. Now, I would say, we just talked Utah, USC. For me, just numbers-wise, this one's a tad short, to be honest with you. So I didn't bet any Cal because for me, I didn't get this opened around 9.5. That was more kind of in the numbers range where I wouldn't pay it. 7.5. It's a little thin for me, but I can't argue with the logic here where at some point, once you've got a 4 or 5 year sample of a coach just outperforming in this spot as a dog that, it's kind of he's just outperforming the market. So same thing with Campbell. Wilcox has been doing it. So I can't fault you on the pick there. It's a little light for me, but hey, I'll be rooting at home for you, and hopefully, your boy here can get you started with the winner.
Yeah, and the one worry for me, Knish, is I like the spot for Cal, but I was a Justin Wilcox fan when he came there, and it hasn't worked out. My worry is at some point there, I feel like the kids just start packing it in, and I'm hoping that's not where we're at with Cal. Like they just show up and get whooped. So that's my one concern is that have we reached the point where we're not. There's no return here. Where they're done. That's my only really issue with this play.
Yeah, and it's a tough day. You can't really win consistently at Cal, with the way that they can't recruit very well. Their academic standards are pretty high, so it's a tough place to put it together. And I agree with you. There were some moments where you thought Wilcox could, get them on the upswing. It probably hasn't. I think the ceiling's probably lowered on what he actually accomplished there. On the flip side, Washington. Has probably been overvalued for a little bit here. Just in terms of their defense is horrible. The early start with Penix being, just on fire against some teams that in retrospect don't look very good. Some of the early results there, that they look scorching hot now, don't look particularly good. So, I don't mind it as a dog play in a good spot with a coach that overperforms regularly. It's just one, yeah. I mean, I see in the chat that it's the Colorado loss is like, I think there's 2 ways to look at that. One, it's going to be a good spot. The other is, that Colorado team is,
really
you could argue that was, one of the worst teams in FBS. And so, yeah, that's a rough one. I don't think They don't have much talent on the scale roster. So I think that would be the word. Is there any team they're going to go up against here for the rest of the season is going to be tough. But yeah, 7.5 in a spot where this coach always is able to keep these games close. I like it.
All right, so my next play. Now, last week, Knish, I went against your Michigan Wolverines, so I've never won a bet on or against in my life.
Tommy.
I thought they were a good team entering the year, and I tried to bet them, and it didn't work out. Then I tried to bet against them; it didn't work out. So I'm done with Michigan. I'm done with them. But so a little birdie told me
they're on a bye
yesterday.
week this week, so yeah, give you a little bit of a little break no matter what.
Now, a little birdie told me yesterday that Minnesota's starting quarterback, Tanner Morgan, isn't going to play in this game. So I jumped on Penn State minus the 4 with the likelihood of a young quarterback going into a whiteout at Penn State. I thought that number was a little short to begin with. I think maybe we're overreacting a little bit. Listen, man, Penn State came in with a top 10 rush defense, and Michigan hung over 400 on them. That team, listen, my kids play offensive line, so I love watching offensive line play. That's last 2 years, Michigan has as good offensive line play as there is in college football, man. They block the hell out of you. So I don't think Penn State is as bad as they looked against Michigan. And with a young quarterback, it looks like it might be a redshirt freshman coming in for Minnesota. I know the early money was on the Gophers, but now that number creeping back up to Penn State 5.5. You have an opinion on this one?
I was sitting there waiting, hoping, praying it would get to 3. And I don't think, at least when I was watching, we checked the rules. I don't think it ever got there. You know what? I'm leaning your way now. I think it bottomed out at 3.5, and now mostly, it's gone mostly back at 5. So you scooped a decent number there at 4. I tend to agree. Now, Sean Clifford, a little questionable. Drew Aller, big, prolific recruit, did not look particularly comfortable. It did not look. It did not look good last week when he came in versus Michigan. But you get him an extra week to prepare, even if Clifford can't go. He's going to be at home. Have significantly more weapons. This Minnesota team, a team that 3-4 weeks ago, I bet on. There was some division prices that came up midseason. I bet on to in the Big Ten West. I thought they would has really cratered. In terms of without Autman Bell, they don't have anybody at receiver that can make a play right now. They haven't been able to run it as consistently. Tanner Morgan, even when he was going, even when he was, I don't know if he's had the lingering injury, but even when he was playing, the last few weeks has just been absolutely brutal. So yeah, I agree with you. I think it deflated them. Probably an overreaction here to Penn State. That's going to go again. A Michigan team that's really good. A matchup where Franklin has tended, for whatever reason, against those Michigan to get hammered by Harbaugh time and time again. So yeah, I think now you get him in a better spot against a Minnesota team that's kind of reeling, dealing with some injuries, backup quarterback. It's one that I was really hoping. I think, again, this is one that 43, it's come down from 44. To be honest with you, I still like under at 43. So every point super critical here. So I was praying to get a 3. It never popped. I don't mind your play there at 4. I'm going to be probably looking to grab a little, like if I can get a Penn State live or something under 3, that would be you can get him, my favorite play to just kind of wait and see in this one, because I think points are going to be super at a premium. So I've got a little play on the under. I haven't bet the side yet, but if I had to, it would be Penn State.
All right, and you mentioned James Franklin. That's obviously the one negative in my corner.
Less so this week, though. When he's going up against, that Minnesota doesn't do a lot of things that that Michigan, that they'll be able to replicate that Michigan does. They don't have much of a passing offense. They don't have any players at wide receiver. They keep the offense more extremely vanilla. They don't have the offensive line. So a lot of the things you saw exposed by Penn State last week, Minnesota can't take advantage of. So I think you'll see a much different Penn State team. And again, this is James Franklin does when the coaching doesn't come when you have better players. I mean, Penn State has a better roster, better players than Minnesota does. So the coaching, disparate impact isn't going to be as much of a factor.
Okay. So on my third pick, I really want to get your thoughts on this because the line moved against me and I was a little bit surprised. I thought I might be getting a good number here. I took Duke +9 against Miami. I just don't. I think Miami's still overvalued in the market. They had a 3-game losing streak. They go on the road. They beat an awful Virginia Tech team by 6 points, 17 penalties. This team plays sloppy. The quarterback isn't what everybody thought he was going to be coming into the year. I know he had a pretty good game last week, but so, I do coming off a last-second loss to UNC. That was the one thing that kind of made me nervous. But I just think for me, Miami's still overvalued. But the line, I think, has gone from 9 to 10, so people disagree with me.
So Miami is a good macro discussion in terms of, you saw I always like to watch, the Saturday money, which would be the sharpest, most liquid money. Any type of legitimate move on a Saturday is usually you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars to get down and move an FBS line that's been shaped by Saturday. And so Miami was one of a handful that got steamed last week against Virginia Tech. They're up 20-0. They don't end up covering. A lot of the modeling and the numbers guys and the sharp guys I talk to kind of show value on Miami every week. But they're doing, it's like they're creating these scenarios with penalties and bad coaching. So even though I think, a lot of times the market is kind of getting feels like they're getting value in Miami. They keep having these, whether it be coaching mistakes, bad variance penalties to not cover in these games. Where if you look at any of the post game win expectancy, the yardage, they should be covering these. They're just not. So I think it's one where kind of the numbers tend to be light early in the week on Miami. Even some people still feel there's value later in the week at 10. That it would be one to me. It just feels like there's some regression to the mean at some point for Miami here, where they don't make as many mistakes. They don't have as many penalties. They're obviously a significantly more talented team than Duke is. It's not one that, for me, some of the, I don't like it. Part of one of the advantage you have as a bettor is if you don't want, you can avoid these teams. So for me, unless I feel like there was some if you got an early juice 7, on Miami, that was like where it was in the playable range to me. Now at the 9 and the 10 in that, I wouldn't be laying it at Miami anymore. I can only either pass or lean Duke at 10. So I would tell you that I think there's a lot of modeling guys and sharper people in the market that would probably disagree with the play there. But as it's played out on the field, they just haven't proven any ability week after week to actually cover these games. So they're just a team that unless I'm getting an extreme discount, I feel like, which I thought I had last week for early in the week for Virginia Tech, and that comes back to bite that I'm fine with avoiding.
So you mentioned the word variance. Let me ask you a question. Like in my favorite sport, college basketball, they have a luck. Ken Pom has the luck factor, right? Rankings that everybody loves. Now, last year, Providence was the luckiest team in the history of basketball. But as I pointed out, they cover every game. Every game they cover it. And now, like you look in the NFL, right? Everybody's betting against the Giants, right? Because they're the luckiest team in the history of football. So you mentioned kind of the variance and the regression. When do you always assume that that's going to come back, or is there a point where you just say, I'm done? Like I'm done betting against Providence. I can't stand getting beat every week.
Yeah, in football, you might go full season. It's one of those that within the scope of a season, you're only talking about 12 games. You could have runs of 4, 5, 6 weeks or, so whatever, so 8 out of 12 that things are going to go against you. Look at Michigan State's last year. Great example. I'm going to troll Sparty on there. 11-2. That wasn't 11-2. It was a 7-win team that won 11 games. And now you look at coming back in, this year, and a lot of it's coming back to roost. It just within the scope, there's just not enough games for some of it to all, play out and correct itself within the scope of 1 year. I think, like you mentioned, college basketball, baseball, those are such larger samples where obviously within the scope of one season, it probably corrects over time. If not, then within 2 seasons. Football, it's just not a big enough sample. You might be, getting good numbers on a certain team 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row. You close good. The market agrees with you, and you lose them all. So yeah, there's points there, but I think as long as you're not letting that affect your overall mindset and how you bet. If you're making 20, 30, 50 plays a week, it's all going to work itself out, in the end. So, and I'll answer on a stale total of 57.5 with the I'm okay with that in terms of it depends where you're at in the pool, how many people are left, where you're at. So, there's a lot of game strategy that goes into those. Normally, I would say yes, but if you're at the bottom half of the pool and we're getting to the late in the season here, you might want to go oppo and try and make up some ground. So, it's hard to answer that without knowing the full scope of it. But
yeah, so someone asked in a contest with a stale total of 57.5 on Northern Illinois versus Ohio. That's got to be an automatic pick, right?
Yeah, and you're thinking normally you go, okay, yes, but here's a lot of people the scope of the pool. Are a lot of people using those stale lines? How are you doing overall in the pool? Yeah, if you're sitting at the top of the pool, then yes, grab it and take see if you're sitting more towards the bottom, you need to make up some ground, then you might want to go, oppo for some positive or negative variance. In this case, positive variance in that one. So yeah, so currently in third, yeah, then I would more lean towards just trying to pad your lead or keep yourself there and take it.
Okay, so Knish, I'm back on the service academies again.
Okay,
so
I'll see you later.
It's not one of my
service academy talk for about. I don't know if I'll ever watch another service academy again. Well, I won't be getting any of my money. I tell you that.
Well, I'm always on the academies. It's not one of my picks, but I took Navy plus the 3. But the one I took last week on the early line, I took Air Force -1. Now that's an interesting game because the line. It moved towards Air Force. I think they were laying 4.5 at one point. Now it's come back down. It's Air Force -2. So this number's been all over the place. Air Force, I mean, listen, they are just a different team at home. They have an incredible record, both straight up and against the spread over the last few years at home. Boise playing better since the quarterback change, which they had the guy there, Bachmeier, who'd been there for 12 years and left. But I think it's going to be a close game, but I took Air Force to win the Mountain West Conference. This was one of the games I looked at saying, I think they can beat Boise at home. I bet them this week. What do you think?
Well, so obviously Monday, Brad and I were very bullish on Boise. But again, this is one that, the numbers, not teams, all that cliche stuff. At 3.5, at 4.5, 3.5, yeah. I really like Boise. And that would be one, lower scoring game. I think Boise defensive front gives Air Force a little more problems than they usually have in the Mountain West. But at the same time, would I have played Boise, +1 this week? No. So you got a good number there. I think that's probably more around where it should be, where, I think it'll close. You see, let me pull up the live here. I think it looks like mostly, 1.5, 2 in the market. And I think that's reasonably fair. So it was one for me where, again, lower scoring game, triple option team. If they have the lead late, they're going to slow it down in that. I think Boise's offensive changes have worked out well. Rarely do you see some in-season offensive changes that I think have a marketable difference, especially we're going to fire people. Usually that doesn't, if anything, it, has more negative. But in this case, Dirk Cotter is offensive coordinator. They got rid of Bachmeier. I like Green, who's a little bit more mobile, gives them some different options. So for me, I liked Boise, but it had to be at the right number. It wouldn't have been at this number. So I can't hate on you for the -1 there. It's one that, it's going to be, I think it'll be a tight game and kind of fall into that zone.
Yeah, I wouldn't have taken this over 3 points. No way. When I saw the -1, I figured it might be a little higher coming into this week. So that's why I jumped on it. But again, Boise's their changes have been working and they're playing well. So we'll see what happens. But tight game probably. I laid the 1 here. But so I don't give many guarantees in life. But I guarantee you're going to hate this last pick.
Oh, okay.
Because I got it.
Last week, Tommy Locke, Utah guaranteed this way.
No, this one, trust me, because I got a terrible line. I mean, I've been on the wrong end of this game since Jump Street. I got the bad line. I think I'm the only person on earth who's bet this side, to be honest with you. I have the Ole Miss money line -120. And now I think they're getting like 12 points at this point. I mean, they opened up as a slight favorite. Now, every time I look, LSU is going up and up and up. Here's the reason why I took it. I think LSU is one of the teams I got a good read on. I went against them a couple weeks ago with Tennessee. I went with them last week against Florida. I just think they can beat certain teams, but their run defense is so bad right now. And that's what Ole Miss does well. They run the football. I don't think Ole Miss is Tennessee, but I still think they're better than LSU right now. I think they win a close game on the road, even though I got the terrible number.
So this will be like a you on Utah and me betting Surface Academies. The lock doesn't come through here because I'm not going to troll you too much on this pick. Because I'll be honest with you, I think this has gone a little too far in the one direction. And you saw as it got up to, I think it peaked around 2. Maybe there was some 2.5, and then started to creep back in. I agree with you. I think this is corrected. Yeah, it looks like 2.5 was the top there. And again, this is when I got a little greedy, waiting for 3. 3 never comes, and now it's steamed back. But yeah, I'm gonna actually be on some Ole Miss here as well with you in this scenario. And again, it's an Ole Miss team that is definitely not as good as their record says. Has been. It has had some, they haven't been great against the spread, especially. Their defense has given up some plays. I backed them, last week versus Auburn, and they end up, just their defense giving up a million freaking points and only being able to beat them by 14 when they should have beat them by 35. But again, LSU, I'm not into this LSU revamped resurgence or anything. As you said, I think their defense is going to struggle here. This is one that there was some look ahead 4.5, some 3.5, some 3. It opened up as mostly Mississippi as a 2.5 point favorite, steamed all the way across here. I just think it's too much respect for an LSU team that I'm not super bullish on. And I'm fine here playing some Ole Miss now that it's gotten to the point where you can get them at 1.5 or a little plus money on the money line. I think Ole Miss wins this game. I think they're the better team. I just think it's not an LSU resurgence that I'm really buying into by any means here, or thinking that they're a great team, or thinking that Jaden Daniels has turned around and become this prolific passer, or any of that. No, it would be Ole Miss and nothing for me where it's at. I got a little greedy waiting for a 3, didn't fire, but I still have a small play on Ole Miss here at the closer. So yeah, no, I can't hate that one for you. Obviously, it's flipped a little now, but too much market respect for me for LSU at the moment.
So let me ask you this. One of the things I keep hearing about is like the schedule difference, right? Like, LSU's played the tougher schedule. First of all, I think Florida's terrible. So I think this is an overreaction to last week because I don't think LSU has the offense to do that to every team it plays. It didn't even, they had a terrible offensive game against Auburn and Tennessee the 2 weeks prior. So I think that's a little bit overvalued. But how much emphasis do you put on that? Like you mentioned, I don't think Ole Miss, I agree with you. They're not as good as their record, but they've had a pretty easy schedule. How much do you put into that when these two teams are playing in like mid-October?
I think a lot of the especially by now, the strength of schedule stuff is pretty baked into a lot of the numbers. I think it's an easy way to make a case for a team if I'm trying to build up a narrative and that, but it's not one that I'd much prefer digging into to some of the other numbers or some of the other analytics if I'm going to make a case for a team or look for a bet than a schedule sample that can only be 5, 6, 7 games at most. I'd prefer to look at the performance as opposed to just who specifically they played. And I'll agree with you. I know LSU's played a better schedule than Ole Miss, but that doesn't in my case justify that thinking that LSU's a better team or they should be a favorite here. I still have Ole Miss as a slight favorite, and I think now that you've got a bit of an overreaction, I'm not afraid to go against some things that I feel they've steamed too much in the wrong direction. That this one I think has gone a bit overboard, and Ole Miss is live for sure.
All right, so plus 7.5. I have Penn State -4. I have Duke +9. Air Force -1, and I have the Ole Miss money line at -120. And Ethan says, "Love hearing Tom on Air Force, Boise to the moon." Well, hey, listen, man.
If there's one thing Tommy knows, it's some of these military academies, the triple option. I don't know. The guy's been watching, black and white football for 40 years, so I don't know. That's one I don't know if I'd pay. I don't like being on the other side of, the option whisperer over here.
Yeah, I am good at betting the option, but I will say this, Ethan. Hey, whatever makes you money, go do it. I always say nobody cares about. Listen, the bank don't care about my record. They only care if I have, So hey, if I said something that makes you go the other way and you win, God bless you. At least one of us won. But Knish, those are my 5 plays. I'm sitting. I'm a game over 500. The tall barrier they gave me here is to hit over 50%. So we'll see how I do this week. But
it's in the witching hour, baby. We're in the crux of it here. We got 4 or 5 weeks to go, and right on the precipice. So need at least a 3 and 2 to keep it rolling.
So give me your pick this week that you're looking at that might be a game not everybody's looking at, thinking about. You got to play this week you like?
Well, we talked about a pre-show, and it's one, if you're able to grab some Akron, if there's some stale, anything, I'd even say 16.5. If you want to buy the 17 -120, it's one. Don't believe Kent State's quarterback, Mr. Shealy, is going to play this week. So it's one, if you've still got some, I know Circus trading 14.5 right now. I think it's one that'll probably close more so around the 14.5 range. So if you've got some stale, 16.5, I would, I'm okay, getting a 17 -120 there. As far as, let's go one more. What we got for the, you know what? I am on, and we talked about this, earlier in the week. I'm in a little bit kind of like Army. If you're where you confirm with me, triple option whisperer here. I was looking to get an Army. It looked like it painted 6.5. I'm been waiting for a 6. I do not believe in Louisiana Monroe's ability to stop the option. Army coming off a little bit of a break. I think they'll be healthier. They were missing. I think they sat a bunch of guys last week. So it's one I've been waiting on the injury report to see if I can get. Probably won't even know until pregame the way that the way that they do things up there, the military academies. But that's another one. And also, if you got a South Carolina, one more there. South Carolina +3, I'm still okay. It looks like mostly 3. I played 3.5. If it's still a 3, I think that's too high. Texas A&M missing a number of offensive linemen. Also heard today their best player on defense, nose guard, looks to be I don't think he's going to be able to play. So, yeah, I'm on the Gamecocks for anything 3 or better.
Yeah, no, I agree. I kind of like Army myself, but I can't bet 3 academy schools in 1 week.
I was going to say you're going for the triple option parlay, baby.
Yeah,
Put them all 3
parlay
together.
Who knows? You never know what I'm going to do on Saturday. Well, we'll see how it goes. And and of course I'm on the other side of that Kent State disaster. I took them early in the week, and it looks like that's going to come back and bite me. But hey, another good show, Knish. Just to recap one more time, my 5 plays: Cal 7.5, Penn State -4, Duke +9, Air Force -1, and the Ole Miss money line -120. Boy, I got to stop giving these guarantees. Every time I say you're going to disagree with it, I thought for sure you'd hate that one. But I'll say this, Knish, you took it on the chin last week. You went against the Fighting Casales. You took the 12, 26-0. We won again, 219-6. This week we're playing the worst team in the league. We're like a 31-point favorite. So I might have to run it up for the boosters at the end here.
I was gonna say, apparently you're feeding me bad info here with some of this. I thought I had an in, but give me the points again. Hopefully Wilcox is coaching. Wilcox is uncle or something coaching against you this week. It can muck it up and cover.
Well, Knish, don't forget to subscribe to the Hammer NCAA Football on YouTube. Turn on notifications. The next edition of Hit the Books comes to you Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time with you and Brad Powers going over all the early lines, what happened last week. It's a good show. It gives you a nice jump on the week, so make sure to check that out. Knish, best of luck to all your bets, and I'll see you next Friday.
Sounds good, brother. Good luck to you.